Welcome to another episode of The Inside. Very excited today to have somebody we've seen often with us and always brings some good information and good energy. So James Segil from Openpath. James, thank you again very much for joining us. It's always great to have you.
Hi, I'm James Segil. I'm with Openpath. You can tell because I drink coffee from an Openpath Yeti.
Yeah, he brought the swag with him. Well, appreciate it. So we're here today. Recent announcement, or at least release, if you would, around your badging that you currently came out, which is somewhat of an I would say, lack of understanding or appreciation, but yet still major part of the overall ecosystem what we have. So curious to get a little bit of feedback from you on why you all approached badging as the place that you wanted to really spend some time. Let's talk about a little bit about the value proposition of what you all are doing to bring the badging, and really get just an overview of what I believe and agree is an area that isn't going to go away no matter how hard our industry has tried to over the years, and it's only going to be probably, and from what I've seen, enhanced by technology. So why don't you give us a little bit of overview of what you all just came out with?
Yeah, we rolled out our digital badging capability, call it Badge View. And the thought behind this was to really focus, as we do at OpenPath all the time, on the user. And so over the last 2.5 years that we've been in business, we've been obsessed with listening to our users, understanding how they're adapting to and using our technology and evolving. So here's what we heard. Number one, badges are here to stay. There's a lot of people who use physical badges for physical ID and visual verification. The badges typically have the brand of the entity or the organization on them. They have a photo on them. And it's really important from a physical security strategy perspective to have a physical badge. Second thing we heard is that there are users who forget their badges. And that's not a surprise. I know we've all probably had that happen to us. And so what do you do when you don't have your physical badge with you and you need to have some way to show people who you are? Most people don't tend to forget their phone. Third thing is that there's this continuing kind of disconnect between the physical security strategy of an organization and the cybersecurity strategy. The two are still very disconnected. And how do we help enhance and improve the connectivity between those two strategies? And that's where, if you look at our product roadmap, we started to think a lot about how people are using our mobile phone. Most of our users don't actually use the app. They keep the phone in their pocket, they walk up to the door, they wave their hand, the door unlocks, they walk in. And those are sort of the power users who are coming in every day and using, an electrified door with OpenPath on it. We have a whole other constituency of users who use the app. And that's because they're entering a secure door. They have to use our 2FA, right? Two-factor authentication to first unlock the phone with their face, their fingerprint, or their code, and then they can actually use the app to unlock the door, secure door. What we saw was people wanted to have a better app experience. And there were lots of situations where they were being challenged. You needed to kind of show the visual ID. And that's where we came up with our digital badge. So
Yeah.
You want me to dive in more? Or?
Well, no, I got you. I think this is a good example of one of the trends, and you talked about the user, but specifically here too, you're talking about the end user, right? So that's the person that's typically participating, if you would, but historically they've been just a card. Maybe they were a badge, but it was static too, and there was a reader on the wall, and if they showed it, it beeped, it went. But now that this digital badge, if you would, is a representation of them. One of the things that I saw that you all have, which I think is an interesting approach to this and shows the benefit of some innovation around it and leveraging of technology, was most people have multiple badges depending on the different places that they go, and they may go from the gym to the office to wherever it might be, and that ability for them to sort of separate the identity from the badge, but then make the unique look and the feel. So can you talk a little bit about what you did there?
Yeah, so we have, about 8,000 gyms that are rolling out OpenPath across about 10 million users right now. We also have a huge number of schools, K through 12, EDU, as well as houses of worship. And those are all what people do when they're not at work, right? And then, of course, we have over 26 million square feet of office space where we're deployed. So what's happening is our users are running into OpenPath in every aspect of their life, and they need to be able to have a consistent experience when they go up to any door. Again, most of our users don't use the app, but when they do, they need to be able to show their ID when they go to the gym. They now have a digital badge that they can show. They want to show their ID when they go on campus. They have a digital badge they can show. And of course, when they go to the office, they have a digital badge. It's all within the same app. And so being able to have kind of your digital wallet there in the app, have all of the different entities and orgs that you belong to, and not have to worry about installing and downloading new apps for every location or every org that you're part of, is just making the user experience that much better.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and talk to me about in line with that as well. A lot of times when we move these static things again into the digital world of being like on your phone, because that seems to be the biggest way people are starting to use the technology, that going mobile, there's a whole bunch of technology that's there too that we don't seem to be leveraging very much. So can you talk a little bit about your approach on taking a look at the phone side of this as sort of the mechanism of how people are using it and how that's enhancing sort of the experience as well?
Yeah, so I guess we were depending on a lot of our sort of touchless access capabilities up till now, which is you depend on the technology in the phone such that the phone's in your purse or in your pocket. You walk up to the door, you wave your hand, it unlocks, you walk in. But we do have a lot of power users that are using the app. And so what we did is we allowed you to create a different sort of persona for the different kind of constituents and end users that you have in your organization. You might have someone who's a basic user, right? They literally have just very limited capabilities in their app. It allows them to unlock a door. Maybe there's a digital badge that they can show if they're asked to show visual ID, and that's it. And maybe they don't even use the app. Maybe they do, or maybe it stays in their pocket. Whereas we have power users. And power users are property owners, receptionists, administrators, security owners. And these are folks who need to be able to remotely unlock a door so that if they're not at the office, they can unlock the door remotely, let the vendor in. They need to be able to send out a digital guest pass, a visitor pass to someone so that that user can have a temporary credential. They can do that from the mobile app. They need to be able to trigger a lockdown in case of an active shooter or some kind of emergency. So all of these sort of extra advanced capabilities are not necessary for every user. So we now have this concept of configure the end user with the right capabilities that are consistent with how they're going to experience that built world, how they're going to need to experience security, and have a different kind of end user experience that you can curate. So that's a big part of our new kind of digital badge rollout. I'd say one other thing that we've done is try to align the security policy of a company or an organization with our ability to give somebody a mobile credential. That means making sure that you're keeping up with all of their compliance standards. So for instance, a lot of our enterprise customers use Okta for single sign-in to every single app in their company, whether it's a cloud-based app or a mobile app. So we now are rolling out in the next 30 to 60 days the ability for you to sign into your mobile OpenPath app using Okta single sign-in. Again, it makes sure that you consistently are compliant with all the various standards that you have for security in your company, and it aligns your physical and your cybersecurity strategy together.
Yeah, which is important because it's, as you said, as these worlds continue to sort of combine together, it's going to be even more important. They can't be sort of in conflict. So I guess the last part of this that I wanted to touch on, so I would say about 7-8 years ago when I first started getting into the business of selling mobile credentials, and that I met with a very large property management company that did airports and corporate and this. And one of the pushbacks that they gave was, and now reflecting back, was probably a bad sales tactic on my end, was this idea of this had to be an or, like we were going to replace the badge. And one of the problems that they had was they saw value in the actual badge of someone wearing one. So your approach that I've seen so far on this is the and approach. So can you talk a little bit about how this is not necessarily a replacement of, this is now a what?
Yeah, this is very much a yes and approach. So there's two new features that we have that kind of illustrate this. First is something that's kind of obvious. You can now create a digital badge in your MobilePath app that looks like your physical badge. Kind of obvious, right? That you shouldn't just have a generic OpenPath logo there in your mobile app that says, hey, this is an OpenPath credential. You don't care about OpenPath, you care about your organization and your company. So you can take the design that you've created for your physical badges and you can upload it to our digital badging platform. You can add photos, the same photo that you have on your physical badge, so that now you have a visual identification and verification capability from your digital entity, right? It doesn't need to replace the physical badge that you have, but it's nice to have there as a backup. Or in the case of maybe somebody who's not in an environment where they're challenged all the time for visual ID, but might have to have an ID there, it's nice to have it on your phone. I think the next thing that's kind of interesting about it is that because the phone is a dynamic supercomputer that's connected to the internet and in your pocket, you can update that credential with new information in real time. So the world we live in today, you can update your digital badge to show your vaccination status. Here's our population of end users who are vaccinated. Here's our population who are not. There's a little sign that says vaccinated. The other thing you can do is you can update it to change your work group. So let's say because of social distancing, you're going to be on the red team versus the blue team versus the green team. You don't have to now reprint 10,000 badges and get them out to all of your employees. You can just update the digital badge with that meta tag and voila, it's done. Then I think the final thing that's really interesting is that people have not taken advantage of the phone as a two-way communications tool. And I mean this not nonchalantly. I mean, the digital apps that we all have and install to allow us to gain access to buildings are just that. It's just a credential and it talks via maybe Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or LTE, but we're actually not communicating with the security group at our company. So what we've done is we've added a call for help and an email for help capability into our app so that if an end user is locked out, they're more likely locked out because they don't have permission to access that door after 5 o'clock or on that schedule that it's on, or maybe they just don't have permission to access that secure door. Well, now each of our orgs who go ahead and purchase Openpath can put a custom phone number for their help desk, their property management team, their security desk right into the app, so that if you're locked out, you can call for help right then and get your issue resolved. Which again seems obvious. It's a two-way communication tool. You should be able to call, but now you can call the exact person who can help solve your problem. And this is a feature we're rolling out in the next 60 days. So we're super excited about two-way communication as just yet another method to help improve the user experience and reduce a lot of the friction associated with access control.
Wonderful. I love the idea that, but all of this is an example of how the end user, in my opinion, is a stakeholder now because of the impacts of mobile and the impacts of technology. And we're, instead of just focused on the admin and the dealer installer of the systems, we're now incorporating them. And all of them are important, but we have to start delivering services to people, because ultimately I do believe the end user, if they're happy, that happiness goes up the chain and drives a lot of the companies that are going to get chosen long term when it comes to solutions that are providing really this idea like joy and happiness, as well as security and conveniences and the rest of it. So if someone wants to find out more information, where's the best place to do that?
Sales@openpath.com. They can also go to www.openpath.com, or they can email me, james@openpath.com. If you'd like, I'd also give people my cell phone and my LinkedIn, my Twitter, my WhatsApp. I can just put it all in an email to you. Just post it all right there.
Very nice. You're a man of the people, which is what I always loved about you. You're very, very easy to get a hold of. So thank you, James. Appreciate you taking the time to share with us some of the innovations that you guys are bringing to the market. So thank you.